everybody, it's Kira and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about my most disappointing reads of 2019. I have a couple books that I was hoping for more of, or the book wasn't quite what I expected it to be, and it just kind of let me down. So it's time to talk about them. Also, these aren't really in any order, except I'm going to put like my most disappointing read as last, but the rest of them aren't really in any order. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Sauvé by Celia Reese. So this is supposed to be, and it says, like, in the flaps and stuff, that it's about a girl who becomes like a Robin Hood. It's kind of like a Robin Hood retelling, but not really. So basically this girl, Sauvé, her father and brother, I think, go missing. And so she decides, and she's like supposed to be engaged to this like wealthy dude. And it's set in like the 1700s. And I didn't realize that, but it's set in 1700s in England. And there's, I think it's 1700s, maybe it's 1800s, I don't even know. But there's like some revolution going on in France, and so she decides she wants to kind of bring revolution in a way to England, or like people are being persecuted in England for being revolutionaries. I don't even remember. But anyways, it's supposed to be like what I was assuming it would be, is she dresses up as Robin Hood and it's more about that. But what it turned out to be is like the first little bit is she's like a Robin Hood figure and like does this whole like stand and deliver thing when catching carriages on the road for like the first like couple chapters, and that's basically it. And then it turns into this whole like intrigue plot of like trying to figure out where her brother and her father have gone or have been taken. And there's this weird thing with like an engagement that she has, but then she breaks it off. And what else is in this book? There's a weird part where she's in I want to say castle or a cave or something. Yeah, she's like at this castle and it like ends up exploding and she gets away on a hot air balloon. It's just all kinds of weird and wacky, and there's all this like historical stuff about like England and France and this revolutionary stuff, and I had no idea what was going on half the time, and it was not what I was expecting. So needless to say, I was very disappointed with this book. Next up, I have Flashpoints by Nancy Kress, and I didn't really know what to expect with this one. This is like a dystopian, and it has to do with kind of virtual reality. And so basically, the main character Amy is like her and her family are low on money, so she's trying to provide for her family, and she gets cast on this like TV show that has to do with like holograms and illusions kind of things. And so I'm like, that sounds interesting, and I got this from a library book sale, so I was like, whatever. I wasn't expecting it to be like amazing, but like the tagline is, in a world of illusion, how do you know what's real? And so like, that's a good tagline. I'm like, why not? I'll just pick it up. Yeah, it's terrible. The TV show name, first of all, is so stupid. So basically, the point of the show is that there's like 8 different like teenager contestants, and so they get put in these situations. So the point of the show is for the audience to guess what the response the characters were going to go through, and I think the audience could like win money based on if they guess correctly. The TV show name in this book is called Who Knows People Baby You, and they never changed it. It is such a stupid name. Why on earth would you name your TV show that? I do not know. But they never ended up changing it, and so I think they just called it like Who You, I think was like what they shortened it to. But yeah, that's the name of the TV show. So right off the bat, it's telling you this is weird. And then Amy has a younger sister whose name I'm forgetting, and I don't really care. But she has a younger sister, and her younger sister is like going out and partying every night with the money they don't seem to have, and like getting in trouble, all this bad stuff. And then she is upset and annoyed that her sister Amy got cast on the show. So she like tries to figure out a way to get in the show, and then eventually, because people start dropping out of the show because like it's terrible, and they get put through these illusions where they're like put in almost like life-threatening situations and stuff, and so people start dropping out. So Amy's sister ends up on the show, which is fine, whatever. But there's also this weird romance thing going on. So there's Amy, and there's a contestant, Kyle, I think. and he's like the hot, brooding, bad guy kind of aura around him. But then there's this other contestant whose name I'm forgetting too. But there's another guy who is kind of a little bit more nerdy, who Amy ends up falling for. And then her sister falls for Kyle, I think. But there's just some weird romance kind of stuff like shoved in there. And it was just very disjointed. And overall, I was like, what is going on? This is a really stupid book. So don't ever read Flashpoint. Next up, I have Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve. Now this one was okay. The movie wasn't very good, so don't watch the movie. It's not super good adaptation. But the book was just kind of meh. Like, it wasn't super good. It wasn't terrible. And so, like, the premise is so cool of, like, everybody lives on these cities, and the cities move. And if you're not careful, your city could get eaten by another city. But there's this whole plot. I don't even remember any of the characters' names, I'll be completely honest. But there's this whole plot of, like, the, like, mayor, president, somebody high up in the government turns out to be evil, and I don't even remember anything else. But it was just okay. Like, I was hoping it would be, like, super great, and I listened to the audiobook for it, so maybe that was part of it, but it was just, like, meh. Like, there wasn't anything that I was like, yes, this is amazing. It was just there, and it happened, and that's, I don't know, it was just kind of disappointing because I was really hoping that it would be, like, really well written and really cool. And I think there's 4 books. I read the first 2, and then I started the 3rd, and I was like, I don't care enough about these characters or this world to continue reading, so I just kind of stopped. Next up, I have 2 Years, 8 Months, and 28 Nights by Salman Rushdie. This book took me forever to read because it's so boring for a lot of it. So, it's an adult book, and it's kind of 1,001 Nights. That's what 2 Years, 8 Months, and 28 Nights is 1,001 Nights. So, it's like a mix of this fantasy world where the jinn exist, and they exist kind of like side by side with our world, and so it's a mix of like the fantasy, like being in the fantasy world and being in our world. And so basically then the jinn end up like in our world, the bad jinn are trying to take it over kind of thing. The weird thing is the main girl jinn is princess, and she ends up marrying this mortal man, and she like falls in love with him. I don't know if they actually got married, but they have a bunch of kids. And so eventually then it's like years and years and years and years and years later, and all of their kids have slightly rounded ears, or all of their descendants have like slightly rounded ears, slightly pointed ears, I don't remember. They have weird ears. And then all of these like occurrences start happening and people start getting weird powers. So one of the characters you follow like hovers above the earth. He just like hovers, and it starts off as like a couple inches, and then eventually it's like a couple feet off of the earth. Kind of weird. And part of the problem with this book is that it jumped around in time and space so much. You were following a bunch of different characters, and it was hard to tell where we were and with whom and where in time we were. The other problem with this book is that it's so philosophical, and maybe that's because it's an adult book and so it can like take the time. It's not a YA book, so it doesn't like need to be fast-paced. Most YA books are more fast-paced just because that's how they're written, because they're written for teenagers. It took forever to get through this because they would stop and like do this weird philosophical thinking thing. And like the different jinn would talk to each other about all of this stuff, and there was no like weird, it was like a weird plot line because of the timelines being weird. The plot was kind of hard to follow. I was really sad because this is like a cool cover, and apparently this writer's really good, and my friend got it for me for my birthday or Christmas or something, and so I wanted to like it and I just could not. And then the last books that I'm so disappointed by, and that is the Noah Trilogy by Tim Chaffee and K. Marie Adams. So I got these when we went to the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum out in Kentucky. This last summer, 2 summers ago, I don't even remember. It's been a long time. Basically, it's like kind of a fictionalized like telling of Noah from the Ark, of his like life story leading up to the Ark, which is fine, and I like that idea. I love reading about Bible characters in not real world, but that's not what I'm trying to say, but like I love reading stories of Bible characters where they're more fleshed out because the Bible doesn't give us a ton of details about certain characters, like lives, or certain people's lives and like what they were like, kind of thing. So I was all set up to really enjoy these, and I didn't. They jumped around in time so much. And like, I get it, because Noah is 600, I think, when he like finishes the ark, when the flood comes. 600 or 900? I think 600. And so 600 years is a lot of time to cover. So I understand that there have to be time jumps, but it was more like they jumped at inopportune times. So there's this one part, I'm going to put this down because that's heavy to hold. There's this one part where Noah was like separated from his wife, and he was like being tempted by the bad guy, something to do with like bad guys in the city they were in. And so he was like trying to escape and find his wife. And then it jumps to years later, and we didn't get that like reconciliation with his wife and finding his wife and being relieved that he's okay and explaining everything that just happened to him. Like, I wanted to see that in the book. It didn't feel like there was a lot of like character building, which is funny because that's kind of what the books are, is character building. But it just felt like a lot of like disjointed scenes, and there wasn't enough of like stuff where I wanted to like hear Noah think. Like, there wasn't a lot of like Noah or the other characters just like sitting and thinking through things or like hearing their thoughts. It was a lot more dialogue based, and it was just weird. It didn't flow very well as books, which it reminded me a lot of the Sword Trilogy. Shoot, I forget what that series was called. I read it in 2018 because my friend really liked him when she was younger, and so I read them. And so it was about this like dystopian world where and then somebody found a Bible and brought change or revolution, kind of thing. Which, again, the premise sounds cool, but it's just like the execution of the writing. Like, the writing, like, these people are not like authors in the sense of a fictional book. There just wasn't a lot of good flow. There wasn't a lot of like rhythm within their writing. Like, it just felt so disjointed, and I didn't know what was going on half the time, and it was just really sad because I really wanted to like these books, and I got them from the Ark Encounter, which the Ark Encounter and Creation Museum are amazing. If you can go, please do, because they are incredible. So I just really wanted to like them, and I just didn't. I did like they had a section at the end of each book where it was like real life answers. So like if there were questions that were brought up throughout the book about like timeline or creatures or things like that, or culture, they kind of answered them in the back of the book. It really focused like there was a lot of talk of dinosaurs being with Noah, and it kind of felt too forced that they were trying to be like, there were dinosaurs that existed in Noah's time. Here you go. We're gonna give them different names because of course they wouldn't have the same names that we have today for dinosaurs. So like one was like Earthshaker, and I think that was like supposed to be a T-Rex or something. But yeah, like it just felt too disjointed and not enough like a story for me to really enjoy them. So I think that was my most disappointing read of 2019. So yeah, there you have it. Those are my most disappointing reads of 2019. I hope you enjoyed. If you have books that you were disappointed by, or if you've read any of these and want to talk about them, I'd love to down in the comments below or on my social media. All my links are in the description as always. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!